Hello, guys. How we doing tonight? Doing good. That's nice. I'm feeling tired today. I'm gonna be honest. I had not the best of days. I don't know if you guys looked in chat, but I woke up 40 minutes late or something, and I missed a very big trade today. So I'm not feeling extremely happy, especially after seeing the beautiful day we just had. But I mean, that's what trading's about, right? I'm not always going to catch the opportunity I wanted, and I'm never going to be able to catch every single move. So it's a little bit a kind of day that pisses me off. So I just took a step back, traded one evaluation account because with Apex right now with the subscription, the discount, I mean, it is very much worth it. But I did not touch any on my funded today. So, not the happiest, as I said, and a little tired, but talking only price, we had a beautiful day, right? So, can't complain. Hope you guys are all doing amazing. Glad to have you all here right now. And you know what? Let's get right into it, right? We had a huge range day, right? Let me just go down to the hourly. I believe it pops up. Yeah, we had a 400 handle range on NASDAQ, and we had a 94 handle range on ES, which that is even more impressive for to me. A 94 handle range on ES is crazy. I would like to see how many percentages that is very quickly. That's 1.77%. Okay, that's not too bad in terms of volatility, but in terms of ADR, I believe it's quite big. And we had a 2% down day on NASDAQ. So just to get back to it, a very large day, and it was filled with opportunity, right? As you guys probably saw. But if we just look out at a daily chart, we can see there was a lot of divergence getting into it, right? ES barely taken out with a tick yesterday, that swing high on the daily, but now today fully going for that level. So we did take it out. And then what do you expect following a run on external range liquidity? Well, a retracement to internal range liquidity, right? You need to retrace towards discount and efficiency on NASDAQ, that was your order block, at least for me. I was looking at more specifically a 4 hour order block, so we can go in it. And my 4 hour, of course, was this one first. But once you get into it and you see that all of this is low resistance liquidity right here, you don't expect it to stop at this level. So I had this order block just because this swing low looked like such an unachievable objective, but we did run a lot. So I'm just going to mark that out as a 4 hour order block real quick, just so we can have it on our 1 minute chart later, but we'll be able to look at that 4 hour order block. And if you are more well versed in terms of ICT and more specifically order block, you might use the 3 consecutive candles, but I want to keep it simple and mechanical, which means this is my order block. If we look at divergence, right, which frames our setups, and right now we're on a 4 hour chart, we don't see much specifically for today, right? On a 4 hour chart, this is our London. What happened after London? Sorry. This is, okay, wait, that's 2 to 6. So technically, London was disgusting, but we just had an overnight Judah swing, right, of a London framework. So you had accumulation near midnight open. I'm going to move it to the side a little bit so you guys can see the daily candle. This is our daily candle indicator by 2 degrees, by the way, and it's free. I have the other version, but the free indicator works awesome and really helps out visualize what is going on. But if we look at it, what did we have? We had clear power of 3, right? You can't ask for more. So I'm just gonna draw it out for you guys very quickly. We had accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. But for myself at least, I'm not trading London. I'm not trading anything. And if we're talking specifically about news, we had 9:45 and 8:30 news. So that means that for me, there was no trading until 9:45 in general. But more specifically, I have rules for this specific type of event. So I would start trading at 8:30 in this specific case, but that's not for every day. So I don't want to start getting into that specific rule. But just generally, you'd wait for 9:45 or at least 9:30, depending on your rules with news more specifically, right? And we're on a 15-minute chart right now, and no SMT on the highs, right? So no intraday SMT at all happened during the day up until we got to these levels, which got taken out at slightly different times. But that was not SMT, that was just price catching up, right? The only thing we had, I believe, was it this swing low. This swing low got taken out on both. So no, you really did not have any intraday SMT. And for you guys that are probably wondering, well, why? Okay, well, why is he telling me this? Because for me, that means that there is no clear, okay, we're not reversing. It's a continuation. That's how I see it. So that to me is just my way of filtering, is this a manipulation lower or is it a move that will continue lower? That's the only way I can do that, because there is no SMT telling me that it is going to reverse at the lows. So to me, it's just going to continue going lower. And as we can see, well, this 15-minute following, right, this first Judah swing, overnight Judah swing, taken out, forming London lows, I believe were open right here. If I'm not mistaken, yes, London lows right here to have just a beautiful London framework right at the 9:30 open. I'm going to mark it out as London low very quickly. Please let me type London low. Let's just do bottom left and let's put it purple. All right, so just wanted to mark out London low, but we had an overnight Judah swing taking out London highs, which would be these right here. So you had a beautiful London framework from our intraday draws on liquidity, or one trading setup for life, as ICT calls it. But you had your overnight Judas taking out liquidity as well. We were in a deep premium of our range, right? I'll go back to the 4-hour chart to show you guys. We were in a deep premium of our current range. And even on a daily chart, it's a little bit prettier. We were higher on the range. Just took out external liquidity. You could anticipate at least a retracement lower. You had that, but with displacement, right? Displacing through London lows, and you had a clear, large new day opening gap. That's one thing I want to point your attention towards. I'm actually going to remove the indicator and just draw it manually. But from that close right here to the open, we had, how big is that? I just don't want to say a random number. Had a 42 handle, 42.5 handle new day opening gap, which is large. Anything above 30 for me is considered large. And anything above 100, I am not trading for the whole entire day, because that gap will act as a constant magnet for price. And yes, there are specific signatures that we will see in a second, but just in general, you see that gap and you look at it as a huge magnet. Price is going to expand and consolidate within this gap to rebalance this zone, if you want to say it like that. This is inefficient price delivery, gapping overnight, so you need to rebalance said delivery before you can keep going at any point. So I'm just adding constant confluence to say to the fact that a move down was to be expected. But now, how can you trade such move down? Well, as I said with you guys, for me, that starts at 8:30. But we're not going to look at 8:30 because that's not a conservative approach as to my specific model. So for my specific model, see, if you see it, London low would have already been taken out. So I'm actually going to remove this and just remove those big boxes I drew for power of 3 and go down right here. I'll even remove this 15-minute gap for now. We are looking at 9:45, waiting 10 minutes after the news right here. And that's where you can start looking for opportunities. Let me just see if I misdrew something here. So the close of this to the open of this. Yep, I knew I misdrew something because I remember this beautiful tap of consequent encroachment right here. You're looking for algorithmic signatures. This is an algorithmic signature. We know we need to rebalance this, but we know that the less it digs into it, gives an insight as it has a higher objective, and more specifically, tapping consequent encroachment, which is a specific algorithmic level that we look for to understand strength in assets, tells you that, hey, we could be due for a retracement. Now, depending on your approach, you may want to trade this retracement. Personally, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. When I know about it, I will not. The only way I'm trading this retracement is if I have a higher objective, which could happen, right? You could anticipate higher prices to these retracements. Why? Because if we open a 15-minute chart, and I'm going to remove this range that I don't know why it's there. We look at a 15-minute chart and you utilize the range from our current expansion at this specific point, you would anticipate a retracement at least to a premium, right? So when we are here and you're looking for a retracement, these are clear objectives you can target before looking for shorts. So if you were looking for shorts, you would wait until it goes up here. So do you want to trade this move? Usually high resistance retracement. That's honestly up to you. But there was a setup. It wasn't the easiest setup to find because it was based off SMT. So let me just mark it out right here. You had SMT at this level. Let me just do this correctly. Sorry guys, I'm a little slow tonight, but as I said, feeling a little bit off, so bear with me here. And afterwards, you had a lower low form right here, so you had SMT between these two. This is the one I want you guys to concentrate on, because when there is SMT, as I always say, you need to look at the other correlated asset as it did take it out. So for example, here on ES, we did take out this low. Sorry, I just pressed space. Where am I? And I deleted the drawings. That's awesome. Okay, no, there they are. All right, so on ES, we did take it out right here, but on NASDAQ, we did not. And what does that tell you? Well, you can treat NASDAQ as if it did take it out. So if we went up and we put in a low, a high, and then this can be understood as a lower low because ES did a lower low at this specific level, then once we trade back over the high, right, which is right here, this is a breaker block right here. So you can utilize SMT to understand these specific things. And yes, it might have just confused some of you because it is a lot of moving parts to understand at once. And it gets confusing, but I am not here to teach you that at the moment. I just wanted to showcase it because we had beautiful respect all the way to taking out 2 clear buy-side objectives. But the one thing we spot when taking out this lower time frame external range liquidity is that we are unable to close through it. That is the main thing that you should spot here. When I have some executions up, and sometimes I write, this is where I want to see velocity. Exact trade I took this morning. That's awesome. See, you had a nice move up, and you had just this breaker supporting price further. But as I just pointed out, right, you want to see velocity above these highs. You want to see an energetic move through to push you to these objectives in a premium. And we did not get these. Yeah, exactly. You were just consolidating and getting ready for a further move. And if we move forward in time and we see, oh, well, hard time getting up, to get that full move down, and then of course taking out liquidity, I believe right here we had a nice 5-minute swing low, I remember, and more specifically this low, that is where it aligns. And more specifically, if we go back here, you have 950 to 1010 macro. That macro first finished its move I'm starting to get a lot of lines, so I'm going to remove some of them. But that 950 to 1010 macro, which is from here to here, started. I'll get back to that, Charles. Don't worry about it. I just want to point this out quick before I lose my idea. But this 950 to 1010 macro, right? We talked about it yesterday. Did it form a move at all? Did it have a tight range? Well, we first started by expanding a tiny bit lower. We consolidated for a while. Let me just mark that out as consolidation very quickly. So we consolidated for a while. Before then, more consolidation, right? I just want to point out what I talked about yesterday in the price action review. When the 950 to 1010 macro consolidates, what do you look for? Well, you wait for the 1050 to 1110 macro to provide your move. And that's exactly what happened, right? Right here, you did not have a unicorn entry up until much later. Okay, so that is something that happens. And as I said in the trading video, right, it filters out trades for you. And as you can see, this trade did not even reach what would have been a partial objective as a premium in efficiency. Actually, it did reach this high, so it did. We'll go over it. But just to get back to what Charles asked, no, I don't see this be A plus specifically for my model, because as a conservative approach, you would not be looking for trading a retracement, pretty much. You want to be on side with your higher time frame expansion, and your higher time frame expansion was lower. If you're an experienced trader, that's a different story, because maybe you're well versed in your understanding of market structure and understanding when it is due for retracement and trading said retracement. But that's not the same, right? So no, I would not recommend it for anyone just in general. But if you're experienced, that's something you can do quite profitably, and I do so myself. Not most times. I try and avoid it, but I end up doing it quite a bit. I'm just looking. All right. But to get back into it, this other trade, that was a possibility. But as I said, no breaker block, so no Rice model for today. You had first the invalidation of this fair value gap, forming an inverted fair value gap after fully rebalancing this new day opening gap. This is a big thing. There has been no price delivery in this zone, except here a little trade down. So I understand that from this low to this high right here, it is imbalanced. I could call it an imbalance, whatever, right? So I need sell side and buy side delivery through it to then it be balanced. That's simple. I need for price to provide sell side delivery and buy side delivery to balance this area, this gap in price. And that's what it did right here. So you had sell side, aggressive buy side reaction, and validating bearish arrays gives you an idea that it's at least due for retracement. You could enter off of this inverted fair value gap. This takes deeper understanding of time and price, of course, but it was an opportunity, so I still want to showcase it. And for me, a good low-hanging fruit objective would be these relative equal highs. Even though this one swept this one, technically, I would view these as relative equal highs if you don't want to name them as an original consolidation right here. But enough of that. You had a nice opportunity there, but I'm concentrating solely on the unicorn, right? And as I said for you guys, I'm going to be looking at the afternoon, but this is my first time looking at it since I have not looked at it live. So it's going to be a little special. Let's go look at that. Because again, as said yesterday, right, I see a lot of familiar faces here and a few new ones, but I don't trade the lunch macro. So anything between noon and 1, I'm not looking to trade. Of course, I utilize that information, but I never trade that. And even then, 1:30 is usually when you want to be starting to trade, because that is the beginning of the afternoon session. So, and if you miss this, this is too deep in a range, too close to my take profit. So unless you shorted during lunch, the only opportunity possible is right next to your low-hanging fruit objective. What I mean by that is that if I'm shorting here, I'm first taking profit somewhere in here and having this low as my target and possibly other higher time frame objectives, right? This is just this is basically, well, basic, I guess is the best way to say it. It is not something specific to my model. It is just something in my charts that I want to be looking at. But once you get to 130, you're already at your low-hanging fruit and past and almost there. And it might seem like, oh, well, it's super close. I'm just going to take the final last part, right? I'm just going to trade this little run down. Okay, well, at this specific point on this candle, you could have expected it to run all the way down right here. So if you start trying to chase in this final quarter, more specifically, I'm looking at implied dealing ranges here. Let me just draw it out for you guys. This is starting to be way too much drawings for me. I'm about to have a cardiac epilepsy or epilepsy thingy. Sorry, I don't know the word for it, so I feel bad now saying it. But there you go. Quarters is how I utilize this. So I'm never taking an entry below 50% of my implied dealing range, which is from the high I'm calling the high, and it is this SMT right here. I believe there was SMT. I just looked at it while talking. Yes, exactly. So this SMT is what I'm looking for to form my move. So my framework is from this high to this low, and I would then use an implied dealing range to find this specific move. Wow, those standard deviations are amazing. Truly. Well, they're perfect. They can't be more perfect than that. Let me just make them a bit wider so you guys can see. That's absolutely beautiful. So, except for the result that we see, this specific entry in the lunch macro, which is based off of this breaker block right here, with the overlapping fair value gap, stop would be at the swing high. There is no third PDO rate I can utilize. You would have been in drawdown, but this is an A+ setup because it has everything you're looking for. So Victor, you were just asking me, the only problem is it's in the lunch macro, and it's not that trading the lunch is bad, is that it doesn't happen very often that we see expansion through lunch, which would be a continuation of our higher time frame charts. And honestly, I'm not the best at it, so I stay away from it. But then I see beautiful setups like these, and I start getting confused. As I said, not the best day for me, but I'm not going to touch lunch. It's not going to change because I tried it before, and let me just tell you, there were a lot of accounts blown, and all of them were during lunch. So never again. But if we look at this, you have a clear low-hanging fruit objective, which I'm looking at this fair value gap, but if we go up to a 5-minute very quickly, I'm going to remove the new day opening gap from here. I really just wanted to point out this beautiful tap that formed a retracement before the continuation. And we have nothing clean in the 5-minute up until that inverted fair value gap. So I'm just going to mark out the high because that would be my low hanging fruit. So I'm not even going to look at the low because I'm not looking for respect of that level. This is just where I believe it will reverse if it has to reverse. So that is my partial. There we go. So partial right here. As you can see, hit it with no problem after the drawdown, right? It just ran right for it after hitting some drawdown, and 2R, that is beautiful, alongside the 1.5 standard deviation, which oftentimes forms a retracement. Then we expanded right through 2 to 2.5, which is your standard reversal zone. So you had no stress at all that it was going to continue to your beautiful objective at 4 standard deviations terminus. So that, of course, looking at it with hindsight is very beautiful, but everything was present. I had my breaker block, I had SMT, I also had higher time frame SMT, I believe. Oh no, we did that today. Sorry about that. So SMT, breaker block, overlapping fair value gap right here, which of course, with hindsight, we can see was not respected. But that's not what I look at, right? I don't look for my thing to be respected or not. I'm entering on it. I'm entering before I see the close of the candle, right? And then low-hanging fruit objective, partial right here, and sell side liquidity objective below. So truly one of a perfect setup that, as you can see now with hindsight, worked out beautifully during the lunch macro. Or you could call it the lunch silver bullet, or you could call it whatever you want during the lunch session. There were a lot of names passing around, but personally, it's not for me. Maybe sometime in the future. So I don't know if any of you guys trade lunch, but it's definitely not beginner friendly, I would say. Seeing Cho type, I'm just gonna wait, see what you have to say. Oh, never mind. But that's it, right? And of course, fair value gap invalidated, went back through it and reclaimed that level before diving lower. So definitely beautiful trade, but that's enough of that. And if we look at the rest of it, it went all the way down to our order block before close and will basically retrace to a close at this specific level. And nothing else happened during the day. So you had beautiful power of 3 early in the day, an overnight expansion, which led to a sloppy New York Open, high resistance retracement, which offered you opportunities. I'm not flaming you at all. I can't see your name. Why does it put me in streamer mode? Bottom frag. I'm not framing you at all. I would have probably traded retracement towards higher prices. These equal highs right there. Those were clear objective. But sloppy New York Open, consolidation, manipulation, distribution towards our retracement objective before continuing lower. And of course, this is our daily distribution. We had a low resistance liquidity run lower, and more specifically to the order block. So quite a day filled with opportunity, but you had to be able to filter out, and more importantly, to sit on your hands. So when you're live and you're looking at this, and after that rundown, and then looking at this, you got to be able to wait for your opportunity to come. So as I said, there was a small one here. Specifically with my model, this move was not tradable, but to me, that was a beautiful low resistance liquidity towards a clear objective, which was, by the way, if we look at premium discount right here, and we go look at the 5-minute chart, I believe it was the 15 I was looking at. Yes, beautiful. So looking at the 15, we had liquidity resting right here into volume imbalance coupled with the fair value gap, which was my first premium inefficiency. So this was a beautiful market structure shift, expansion, then a small continuation, retracement, continuation, right? And just looking at the 15-minute, you can see we were clearly very bullish, very bearish, sorry, not very bullish, barely retracing into inefficiencies. Also, we can look at the hourly chart. Victor pointed out, sent a picture earlier calling it out today, so GG's for that. I saw your executions too, bottom frag. I'm going to catch up on the rest. I don't know if you guys sent anything, but we had a beautiful 1-hour unicorn. This to me would be a swing trade. I do not enter up based on the 1 hour, but this 1 hour breaker block was too beautiful not to point out. And I prefer to utilize mitigation blocks when looking at higher time frames, so pretty much failed order blocks. So this, in this specific case, this is a breaker, but could also be a mitigation block right here. There is this mitigation block as an objective, but if you're looking for bullish mitigation blocks, you have this one. So ICT calls it the box setup, which doesn't always form a breaker, but in this specific case, it did form a breaker block, and you had a beautiful 1 hour unicorn lower, right? So very clear day, very beautiful day when you're looking at the hourly chart. So just wanted to give a little shout out there. On that note, I'm gonna ask you guys, do you have any questions at all regarding what happened today and more specifically my analysis of the markets. I'm not seeing any typing. Don't be scared to give me feedback, guys, especially on days like this. I'm a little tired, so there might be some stuff that I say that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So ask me, I'll explain it. I'll take the time because sometimes it does make sense in my head, but might not make sense for you guys. How do I become a student? I feel like I owe you money. No, don't say things like that. Keep it for you. You'll need it once you start using it to buy challenges, because it won't come easy and it won't be on your first try. But don't worry about that type of stuff right now. There will be a premium subscription at some point in the future. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm going through some personal stuff right now, so there's a little bit of a slowdown. I just want to keep these calls going, but there is a lot of stuff that is coming, and that premium subscription will provide value. I'm not gonna entice anyone to buy it, but it will provide value. Thank you, Brown and Frag. I appreciate that a lot. And Victor, yeah, what's my bias going into tomorrow? To be honest, as a New York trader only, I don't like to predict stuff before I see London, because London gives me a whole lot of information. And also looking at today, I don't even have the Asian range yet. So I can't make clear predictions about tomorrow. But I will go on my intra-week time frame. I'm already here, right? My hourly chart. Let me just find the opening. And looking at this is my start of my week, all right? So I'm gonna just go through what I'd be thinking tomorrow, right? So let me just find the end of it as well. So this is my week. This candle right here is my weekly candle. Let me just remove the sell side liquidity and just all the drawings. This is my weekly candle. I'm gonna remove the separation actually. So what did we do? Well, we opened and straight up expanded. If we look more specifically at this candle, you'll see there is no bottom wick. And no, it's not because of my line. There is no bottom wick. I believe it is Dexter that came up with the name. I'm sorry if it is not, but he calls this the devil's mark. And when we have a devil's mark, we understand it as inefficient. And we just return to that weekly open to rebalance that candle that was not efficiently delivered, right? We had no open, low, high, close. We had open, high, close. Never had a low put in. So that's definitely inefficient. So we return there. But now what other objectives do we have? Well, we have no clear objectives because we took out everything that we had to. These relative equal lows were a big objective and this devil mark was next. But this low could still be an objective. But if I just put my hovering so we can see on both, you'll see that if I can draw it, there is currently intra-week SMT. When I call it intra-week, intraday, I'm just referring to the time frame it is on, and it pisses me off to look at 1 hour SMT and 15-minute, and I don't want you guys to focus on the time frame it is at. So I'm saying it as the time window it is at. It's intra-week. This is SMT that I will look for based on a weekly expansion or sometimes the next weekly expansion. So this is vital to me for tomorrow and possibly next week if this holds. So basically that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at us to trade back in this range, and I want to see if we're either going to take a continuation off of this fair value gap. So I'm going to have some quarters there because I like to use these specific levels within large inefficiencies. Same thing on ES. And I want to look if we continue lower or if we're going to trade back into a range higher. If we go a bit higher, I might take a small scalp and just call it a day because Friday we just had a huge range day. I'm not expecting much tomorrow. But again, all I'm saying will either be confirmed or denied by London. So London and Asian session will tell me, well, are we respecting this inefficiency? Are we setting up a sell model, a buy model? There is so much information that I'm lacking right now. So I don't want to make predictions. But what I'll be definitely on the lookout for is this SMT to be targeted or not. So either trading back into a range, which is not a move I want to be trading too much, so I'm going to be scalping, just a small move, take my piece, get out, or a continuation lower, which actually same thing, Friday after a large range day, I'm not going to be very greedy. That makes any sense? Awesome. All right. Well, on that note, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow night for a price action review. Oh, actually, no, I will not. That is something I forgot to say. So I'll just make a message in chat for the ones that aren't here. But yeah, I won't be able to do it. So tomorrow's price action review is sadly canceled. If you guys really want to, if we have something interesting tomorrow, actually, if something interesting happens or we have just a small range day consolidating, I'm going to skip it. If not, I'll make a video and post it on Saturday. How does that sound? That sound good? All right. Well, I wish you guys a lot of luck trading tomorrow, even though you guys don't need it. And we'll see each other for next week, I guess. So you guys have a great night. See you soon.